Devastating secret, after my wife's funeral, I hid the second house from our son until now. The air was thick with unease. The funeral had been a blur, a whirlwind of grief that seemed to settle deep in the pit of his stomach. Jacob stood there, feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders, the chill of the autumn breeze contrasting sharply with the warmth he had known at home just a year before. They had been a family, laughing over dinner, playing games in the evenings. Now, the silence was deafening. His wife, Laura, was gone, leaving only shadows of their life behind. But there was more, something buried, something hidden beneath layers of memory and emotion. Just outside the town, in a forgotten cove, lay a house. Not just any house, but a sanctuary filled with echoes of laughter, warmth, and vivid colors. Jacob had kept it a secret from everyone, including his own son. It was a place they had always dreamed of having, a space meant for family gatherings and summer barbecues, but with Laura's death came the decision to hide it. He couldn't let their son know. Not yet. The guilt clawed at him, gripping his heart tightly, each day stinging with deeper regret. What if Samuel found out? What if he dug into their past? The rusted gate creaked ominously as Jacob approached the hidden treasure he had long buried. The house stood proud, yet lonely, surrounded by towering trees, shrouding it in mystery. Paint peeled off the once bright shutters like the remnants of their joyful memories, and a thick layer of dust coated the surface. He hesitated, a lump forming in his throat. Would he find traces of Laura? Each step closer sent tremors through his hands. What if he was wrong to think that this place could bring comfort? He heard footsteps behind him. His breath caught. It was Samuel, his son, looking up at him with wide eyes filled with innocence and curiosity. "Dad," he whispered, "where are we?" The question hung in the air. Jacob opened his mouth, words slithering away into the depths of his fear. He turned to face Samuel, the boy's face a mirror of deep-seated confusion. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads-up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." Jacob's heart raced. Could he really keep this secret from his son? This is for us," he finally managed to say, but the words felt hollow. He glanced back at the house, shadows dancing in the fading light. The walls seemed to whisper, aching to reveal their secrets, their untold stories crammed inside. What had he hidden? What had Laura wanted him to know? The door creaked open, a sound like a ghost giving its approval. Clenching his fists, Jacob stepped inside, his mind racing. There was so much left to discover. What secrets had he really buried? And as he turned to see Samuel take his first steps into the past, the darkness of doubt clawed at him. What would it take to uncover the truth? Inside, the air was stale, heavy with time. Dust motes danced in the beams of fading sunlight filtering through the grimy windows. Jacob felt a chill run down his spine as he looked around. The living room was a time capsule, frozen in moments of laughter and love. The worn sofa had seen countless family movie nights, the coffee table was scuffed from spirited board games. And yet, the silence screamed louder than any happy memory. "Dad, why is it so quiet?" Samuel's voice broke through the oppressive stillness, his wonder laced with uncertainty. Jacob swallowed hard, his throat tight. "It's just been a while since anyone has been here," he managed to say, pushing the truth deeper down. As they moved further inside, Samuel's small hand brushed against the peeling wallpaper, tracing patterns Jacob had long forgotten. It felt surreal, watching his son engage with echoes of a past he had buried intentionally. A surge of protectiveness flooded through him. "We can leave, if you want," Jacob offered, but Samuel shook his head. "No. I want to see more." Jacob's heart squeezed painfully. In wanting to shield his son from the raw memories, had he inadvertently deprived him of something beautiful? They wandered into the kitchen, where faded family photographs adorned the refrigerator. It felt like walking into a snapshot of a dream. Samuel pointed out the photos, his innocent question cutting deep. Who are these people? Jacob paused, staring at a picture of Laura, radiant and full of life, laughing with their son during a picnic. Just people we loved. His voice stumbled. The simpler the explanation, the heavier the weight he felt in that moment. What about that one? Samuel tugged at his shirt, pointing towards a dusty frame hanging on the wall. Hesitantly, Jacob turned. His breath caught. It was a picture of a family reunion at the house, Laura standing with a group of laughing relatives, but beside her stood someone he hadn't seen in years, his brother, Mark. The air thickened with tension as Jacob gritted his teeth. Mark had vanished after the argument, the fight that shattered family ties and created a chasm he thought impossible to bridge. Just a relative, Jacob managed to say, feeling his chest tighten. Why don't we see him anymore? Samuel looked up, those innocent eyes fixed on him, searching for answers he'd rather keep buried. There it was. The question that pierced his heart, the unspoken family fractures and hidden truths, all coiling around him, smothering him. Jacob turned away from the photographs, anxiety curling in his gut. Let's check the rest of the house, he said, forcing a smile. As they moved to the back of the house, the unease hung between them like a thick fog. The once cheerful kitchen felt foreboding now, shadows creeping in from the corners. Each room revealed more layers of memory, more ghosts of laughter that faded like the daylight outside. Suddenly, a loud thud resonated from upstairs. Jacob halted, his heart racing, adrenaline surging through his veins. Did you hear that? Samuel asked, eyes wide with alarm. Before Jacob could respond, another crash echoed from above, followed by disconcerting silence. A wave of dread washed over him. What could possibly be up there? He took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. They needed to be cautious, but curiosity burned inside him, demanding answers. Stay close to me, Jacob instructed, his voice firm yet shaky. Together, they ascended the rickety staircase, each creak sounding like a scream in the quiet house. What awaited them at the top? He stepped onto the landing, heart pounding, wondering if uncovering the truth would bring him closer to Laura or unravel everything he held dear. In the realm between the past and the present, secrets loitered like shadows, only waiting for the light to expose them. And then he saw it, a flicker of movement at the end of the hall. Jacob's breath caught once more. Was he ready for whatever lay ahead? He took a cautious step forward, heart racing. Would this lead to answers or more haunting questions? The flickering movement pulled at Jacob's attention, a teasing whisper in the still air. He hesitated, the floor creaking beneath him as adrenaline hustled through his veins. There was something or someone waiting for him at the end of the hall. Samuel, his small hand gripping Jacob's, exuded a mix of curiosity and fear. Dad, what is it? Samuel ventured, his voice barely above a whisper, wide eyes reflecting both apprehension and excitement. Jacob fought to keep his voice steady. Let's just take a look. Every step felt like a gamble. Shadows twisted around him, wrapping tighter with every inch he moved. His heart thudded in his chest, a frantic reminder of the stakes involved bringing Samuel closer to the darkness he had hidden for so long. Emerging at the end of the hall, Jacob strained to make sense of the scene before him. The door at the far end stood slightly ajar, a dull light spilling into the corridor from within. With a sharp intake of breath, he pushed the door open just wide enough to peek inside. What met him was a cluttered room, filled with boxes and dust, remnants of faded memories seemingly untouched by time. But that wasn't the most unsettling aspect, it was the figure silhouetted against the light. A tall shadow stood stiff, gazing out the window, as if waiting for something or someone. Who's there? Jacob called out, voice wavering, instantly remorseful for even making the sound. The figure turned slowly, and his heart dropped. It was Mark. His brother's eyes, colder than Jacob remembered, glinted in the dim light, filled with a mixture of longing and something darker. "Jacob," Mark said, voice low and gravelly as if each word had been chiseled from stone. "You shouldn't have come back. What are you doing here?" Jacob's blood ran cold. Years of resentment and anger surged through him, flaring to life. "You disappeared. You let everything fall apart." "Did I?" Mark's brow furrowed, but there was a hint of a smirk tugging at his lips. "Seems to me you were the one who closed the door." Samuel stood rigid, the tension palpable as he silently looked back and forth between the two men, eyes wide with confusion. Jacob knelt down to his son's level, attempting to shield him from the rising storm. "It's okay, buddy," he lied. "Why did you leave?" he asked his brother, rage boiling up, unfiltered words spilling over. "After everything Mom and Dad went through, you just vanished." Mark stepped closer, a fleeting smile crossing his lips. "Because some things are better left buried, Jacob. Especially the truth." Jacob felt his stomach tighten, the air thickening around them as he impatiently demanded, "What truth?" Mark's gaze flicked, following the path of an old family portrait resting on a dusty shelf. "About Laura. About why she really died." "No." Jacob's head snapped up, denial roaring in his chest. "You don't get to twist that story. You don't know anything." Unfazed, Mark leaned back against the wall, arms folded. "I think you need to hear what I have to say. You're not the only one who grieved her, Jacob. I saw things you didn't." Each word grazed Jacob's skin like ice, a chill creeping through the warmth of his long-cherished memories. What secrets lingered? How much had he not understood? He turned to Samuel, who was trembling, visibly shaken. "It's going to be all right," he reassured his son, though his own heart raced with anxiety. "Stay right here," Jacob instructed, unwilling to let go of his son's grip on his sleeve. He felt torn between the love he had for Samuel and the rising tide of buried emotions threatening to break free. "Why now, Mark?" Jacob pressed, desperate to unveil the mystery that had taunted him for years. Mark's eyes sparkled with an odd intensity. "Because the past has a way of catching up and it's time for you to know what really happened that night." Horror wrapped itself around Jacob's mind, sprawling with every word. What could possibly be revealed that would change everything? And as he braced for the truth, Jacob couldn't shake the feeling that the secrets would shatter him. "Let us hear it," he whispered. Feeling the weight of inevitability, but before Mark could speak, the sound of creaking floorboards echoed unexpectedly from behind them, drawing all three pairs of eyes. A new presence loomed, shifting the very fabric of their fragile reunion. Who or what had just arrived? The uncertainty wrapped tightly around Jacob like a noose, tightening with each passing second. What lay behind that doorway, pulling them further into shadows? Would he finally uncover the truth, or was this all a trap set to ensnare him? Jacob barely had time to react. The creaking grew louder, reverberating with an eerie rhythm as the door swung open fully, revealing a figure wrapped in darkness. The shadow stepped into the dim light, and Jacob's breath hitched in his throat. That it was a woman, long hair cascading down her shoulders, obscuring part of her face. But it wasn't just any woman, it was Laura's sister, Claire. The last time Jacob had seen her, they'd been at the funeral, hearts heavy with shared grief and unspoken resentment. Claire's presence was like a storm front, unpredictable and dangerous. "Claire." Jacob's voice cracked, disbelief flooding his words. "What are you doing here?" Her lips curled into a thin, bitter smile. "I couldn't stay away from the family's mess, could I? Not when I have my own truths to expose." The air thickened with tension, Samuel clutching Jacob tighter, sensing the shift. Mark turned his focus away from Jacob, now staring at Claire with a mix of disdain and apprehension. "This has nothing to do with you, Claire. Stay out of it." "Of course, it does," she replied, stepping closer. There was an energy to her words, something charged that made the room feel smaller. I'm the only one left who knows what really happened. The three of us here, we need to talk about Laura. Together. The weight in the room shifted, and Jacob felt anger boiling beneath his facade of calm. What does that even mean? You think you can waltz in and play the savior? You didn't care about her, Claire. Her eyes gleamed, lids lowering slightly as she countered, and you think you did? Buried in your denial, pretending it was all just a tragic accident. But deep down, you know that's not true. Jacob's heart raced, pulses pounding in his ears. The way she spoke scraped against old wounds he had worked hard to heal, or so he thought. What are you talking about? He demanded, voice rising with desperation. Claire leaned forward, as if every sordid secret was written in the lines of her face. Laura knew something, Jake. Something about what happened at night, something that could blow your world open. She was terrified, but I had my suspicions too. Mark stepped in, fists clenched. You don't know anything, Claire. You're just trying to stir up trouble. But Claire brushed him off, a wave of her hand dismissing his threat. You both think you know the truth. You think running away or shutting people out gives you a free pass. Well, I'm here to tell you it doesn't. Jacob felt the world tilt, his mind racing. Tensions flickered, igniting his curiosity but cloaking his heart in dread. Could there be more to Laura's death? A fear began to unfurl within him that the truths they were about to confront might shatter his carefully built world. Tell us, he said through gritted teeth, a challenge. What do you know? Claire stepped closer, her voice lowering to a conspiratorial whisper. Laura didn't die by accident. She found something about our family. And she was going to expose it. But someone wanted her quiet. Someone you know. As her words settled in the air, a pin-drop silence enveloped them. Samuel's grip tightened further, eyes darting between the three adults, confusion mingling with fear. Jacob's gut twisted. The desire to protect his son clashed with the need to uncover the truth buried beneath the rubble of years. Who did this? But Claire only shook her head, stepping back. Not here, in this room. Not now. We need to go somewhere safe. Somewhere where we can uncover the entire truth about Laura. Are you willing to risk it? As Jacob stood there, pulse racing, indecision gripped him. Was his curiosity worth the danger, not just to him, but to Samuel? Shadows danced across the walls, eerie and uncertain. A new chapter was unfolding, but who would emerge unscathed from this dark tale? The air thick with anticipation, the question echoed within him, could he bear the weight of the truth? Or was the truth itself the most dangerous secret of all? The silence stretched, taut like a drawn bowstring, vibrating with uncertainty. Jacob's fingers twitched, conflicted. The concern for Samuel clawed at him, but if there was any chance, any flicker of truth hidden in Claire's words, could he ignore it? The stakes felt higher than ever. Let us talk, he finally replied, his voice steadier than he felt. But not here. Not with Samuel in the middle of this. He glanced down at his son, who was peering up at him with wide, searching eyes, confusion layered beneath fear. Claire nodded, her expression shifting to one that hinted at relief mixed with determination. Good choice. There's a place. My old apartment. No one will follow us there. Mark's stance broke slightly. You're not seriously considering this, Jacob. It's a trap. What do you know, Mark? Jacob shot back, frustration bubbling over. Setting aside your hostility, just for once, think about it. If Claire has something to say, but there's more. He took a deep breath, grounding himself. I need to know. Unable to ignore Claire's half-smile, Jacob felt a surge of outrage. She wasn't just pulling him in, she was readying him for a plunge into darkness he might not return from. Fine. Mark's acquiescence came grudgingly, but Jacob sensed the relief in his posture, an unspoken bond forming against their shared concern for Samuel. Let us get this over with quickly. The trio stepped out of the house with Samuel clinging tightly to Jacob's hand. Every step felt like an echo in the empty street. Shadows stretched ominously beneath the street lamps, playing tricks on Jacob's mind as adrenaline coursed through him. Once they reached Claire's apartment, the air grew thicker, charged with secrets yet to spray the walls with their unspoken pain. Claire pushed the door open, her hand quivering despite the brave mask she wore. The dim light inside felt oppressive, like a weight bearing down on all of them. "Sit," Claire instructed, her voice now firm. Jacob and Mark settled into a worn couch while Samuel perched nervously on Jacob's lap. The room felt smaller with their presence, tension coiling around them like a snake. "I trust you both want answers," Claire began, her eyes narrowing. "The truth is Laura was investigating something. I know because she confided in me. At first, I thought it was just paranoia. Jacob interrupted. "About what?" "About our family," Claire pressed on, a tremor in her voice. Laura suspected an abrupt rattle from the window broke her concentration. Jacob's heart raced. What was that? He and Mark shot each other glances, the fear palpable. "Claire," Mark said, tension palpable in his low tone, "are you sure it's safe to talk here?" "Of course it is." She snapped, but then faltered. The confidence slipped from her voice. "But I think someone followed me." Jacob's muscles tensed. The wall of shadows now felt like a threat looming just beyond the window. "Then we need to move, now." Without hesitation, Jacob stood, pulling Samuel close and rushing toward the back of the apartment. Claire and Mark were fast on his heels, all of them scanning for dangers hidden just out of sight. Once in the hallway outside, they paused, breathless. "Tell me what you're hiding about Laura, Claire, and make it quick," Jacob demanded, voice laden with urgency. "Or we're leaving." "Okay," she breathed, fear spilling from her eyes as she looked at Jacob. "But the truth is horrifying, and I'm not sure you're ready for it outside." An ominous sound echoed, the sound of footsteps closing in. Just as Jacob turned to flee, he glimpsed a shadow at the far end of the hall. "Go. Now!" he shouted, heart pounding as they dashed toward the staircase, but behind them, a chilling voice called out, "Where do you think you're going?" The question hung in the air, heavy with danger, as raw fear wrapped around them. What lay ahead could alter everything, who was watching them from the shadows and what secrets loomed just outside their grasp. The moment Jacob heard the voice, a shiver raced down his spine. He glanced back at Claire and Mark, their expressions screaming panic. Time stretched painfully, but instinct pushed him forward, dragging Samuel with him. The fear was almost tangible, wrapping around them tighter with every heartbeat. "Down the stairs!" he shouted, urgency pouring from him. "We can't stay here." The four of them scrambled toward the staircase, the sound of footsteps growing louder, more deliberate, echoing ominously off the walls. Jacob's breath came in sharp gasps, each inhalation a reminder of the very real danger lurking just behind them. He could feel little Samuel's heart pounding against his chest, a rhythm of shared terror matching their desperate escape. Mark pushed ahead, glancing back with wide eyes as if expecting a hand to reach out and grab him. "We need to split up," he urged, breathless. "It might help to lose them." Before Jacob could respond, Claire interjected, "That's too risky. We can't leave Samuel out of our sight." Her voice quivered, and Jacob knew she was right. Losing track of even one of them could mean disaster. Jacob reached the bottom of the stairs, the comforting thud of their feet hitting the landing accompanied by the echo of something or someone breaching the door above. They didn't have much time. "This way," he ordered, motioning to a darkened hallway that led toward an emergency exit. They sprinted toward the exit, the heavy smell of dust and mildew wafting through the air as they rushed past disused machinery. Their moving shadows danced grotesquely along the walls, almost mocking them as the reality of their situation settled in. They were on the run, hunted like prey. As they approached the exit, Jacob's mind raced. Claire had hinted at something darker than he ever imagined. What had Laura unearthed? The fear of what his family was entangled in screamed louder than the footsteps behind them. "Claire!" he yelled, out of breath. What exactly did Laura find? Claire's eyes flared with an intensity that shocked Jacob. She believed there was a larger conspiracy, something connected to our families. People at the office, people we thought we could trust. But Jacob, I didn't want to believe her. The urgency of their situation seemed to buoy the weight of her words, shifting them from abstract fear to gut-wrenching reality. We need to get out of here, then we need to dig deeper. If it's as heavy as you say. Suddenly, the door above them burst open, flinging bright light into the dim corridor. A silhouette appeared, framed by the doorway, casting darkness into the hallway. The voice that followed sent chills through Jacob. I hope you're not planning on escaping. Panic surged anew, but before they could react, Jacob felt an overwhelming need to protect Samuel. He stepped forward, shielding his son. Who the hell are you? Jacob demanded, trying to sound stronger than he felt. The figure laughed, dark and cold, a sound echoing down the hall. Just someone who knows the secrets buried in this family. Secrets you clearly aren't ready to uncover yet. That word hung in the air, heavy with threat. Let us move. Jacob shouted, grabbing Samuel and pushing Claire ahead. They slipped through the emergency exit, the cool night air hitting them sharply, a jolt of clarity amidst chaos. But as they dashed into the night, Jacob's mind was already racing ahead. He knew that this escape was only the beginning, that the real dangers still lurked in the shadows. The lingering question clawed at him, what secrets did the shadows hold? And could they find safety before the truth consumed them all? The chill of the night wrapped around them like a suffocating blanket as they shot across the parking lot, heartbeats hammering in sync, each footfall echoing like a countdown. Jacob kept his head up, scanning the area for any signs of pursuit. He couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching them, lurking just beyond their reach. Where to now? Claire's voice trembled, not just from fear but from the weight of the truth that hung heavily between them. There's an old warehouse down the road. If we can get there, we might have a chance to hide and regroup, Jacob said, glancing at Samuel, who clung desperately to his side. Jacob's heart twisted at the thought of the nightmare they were plunging into. This wasn't just a game of hide-and-seek. It was life or death. They darted behind a rusty vehicle, its paint chipped and faded, blending into the shadows. Over there, Jacob whispered, pointing toward a narrow path that led towards the trees lining the lot's edge. The idea of slinking through darkness filled him with dread, but they had no choice. As they crept toward the wooded area, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed in the distance, growing louder, more menacing. Jacob willed himself to be brave, to guide his family to safety. Each rustle of leaves made him jump, each snap of a twig felt like a gunshot. Time stretched tortuously as they neared the tree line. They stumbled into the woods, the moonlight filtering through the branches, casting ghostly shapes on the ground. Jacob's breath hitched as he turned to look back, catching a glimpse of a figure at the edge of the parking lot. A flash of recognition coursed through him, recognition that sent ice coiling in his gut. It was the silhouette from the doorway. Faster! Jacob hissed, urging Claire and Samuel onward. His legs felt like lead as he sprinted deeper into the dense underbrush. They needed distance, needed to break free from the suffocating dread that clung to them like fog. They stumbled across an old hunting cabin, barely standing but still partially concealed by trees. In here. Jacob urged, forcing the door open. It creaked ominously, but there was no turning back. They pressed inside, hearts racing, breaths shallow. The cabin was dark, musty, and smelled of mildew, but it would have to do for now. Jacob scanned the room. A faded map hung crookedly on the wall, dust motes dancing in the slivers of moonlight. His mind raced again, always circling back to the question that gnawed at him. What did Laura find? He muttered, running a hand through his hair in frustration. Claire leaned against the wall, her eyes wide with determination. She found something that could destroy everything, she said breathlessly. I think it's why they're after us. Jacob's stomach twisted, his knuckles white as he gripped Samuel's hand. But what? What could be so important? Before Claire could answer, the door of the cabin rattled violently. The laughter from before echoed in the dead air, chilling Jacob to the bone. "Did you really think you could hide?" It was the voice from before, dripping with malice. His heart dropped, and instinct kicked in. "Back!" he shouted, pulling Samuel behind him. They needed to find a way out before it was too late. As the door creaked open, revealing the figure that had haunted them, Jacob felt a surge of adrenaline. This was the moment he knew would define them, the moment they'd either survive or succumb to the horrors the night held. The figure stepped forward, looking as menacing as the dark itself. Time to face the truth. Jacob's heart raced. He had to protect Samuel, had to protect Claire. But the growing shadows around them felt all too real. What devastating truth awaited them, and could they possibly escape the darkness closing in? The figure loomed in the doorway, cloaked in shadows, its movements slow but deliberate. Jacob's pulse thundered in his ears, drowning out the world. He could feel the air thicken, charged with something far darker than night itself. "Who are you?" Jacob demanded, anger lacing his voice, though terror pulsed just beneath the surface. He pushed Claire and Samuel further back, his instincts kicking into overdrive. "Who am I?" The voice taunted, smooth as oil yet jagged as a blade. "I'm the harbinger of truth, the one who will strip away the comforts of this life you cling to." Jacob's instincts screamed at him to fight, to spring forward and protect his family, but an ethereal chill ran down his spine. "Get out!" he yelled, the command rasping out of his throat. The figure stepped closer, eyes glinting like polished steel. "Your precious Laura uncovered something powerful," it said, each word dripping with mockery. "And now, it's your turn to discover just how deep the rabbit hole goes. What do you want?" Claire's voice broke in, shaky but resolute. She emerged from behind Jacob, daring to confront the looming threat. "Just let us go." A chilling laugh echoed back through the cabin, rattling the old wood like an earthquake. "Go? You think it's that simple?" Suddenly, the darkness in the cabin thickened, as if the air itself pressed tightly against Jacob's chest. He felt Samuel flinch beside him, the boy's grip tightening in terror as he sensed the atmosphere shifting. Shadows danced around them, whispering secrets Jacob couldn't hear but felt deep within his bones. Laura's discovery isn't just a thing, it's a path, a choice. "And now, it's yours to make," the figure continued, stepping into a shaft of moonlight. Recognition hit Jacob like a freight train, and he staggered back, breath hitching. You were in the pictures," he stammered. "The ones Laura had. You were trying to warn her." The figure smirked, its smile both familiar and menacing. "You were too late to understand her warnings. But now, you see. You'll make your choice tonight, either take the path to uncover the truth or succumb to blissful ignorance. Your family's fate hangs in the balance." The revelation hit like a punch to the gut. Jacob's mind raced. He had to protect Samuel and Claire, shield them from whatever madness lay ahead. "We're not afraid of you," Jacob shouted, steeling himself. But uncertainty gnawed at him. How could they truly escape this nightmare? "The truth can be ugly, Jacob," the figure said, tilting its head slightly. "And sometimes, it can get very, very bloody." Jacob's heart skipped. Before him lay a fork, a path to salvation or ruin. He could feel the weight of his family's trust pressing down on him. "We want nothing to do with your games. Just tell us what you want." But the figure only laughed again, a sound filling the cabin, reverberating off the walls. Then it took a step back, voice like velvet over steel. "You'll find out soon enough. The truth always surfaces." With that, it melted into the shadows, leaving them in a chilling silence. "What do we do now?" Claire whispered, her voice trembling as she looked at Jacob with wide, fearful eyes. Panic surged within him. Every second felt stretched, suffocating, as the unresolved mystery weighed heavily over them. He needed answers, but where would he start? "Stay close," Jacob said, his voice firmer now, filled with a fierce determination. We need to find out exactly what Laura uncovered. Suddenly, the ground shook with a low rumble, as if the very earth was warning them. There was a noise outside, a scuffling, followed by a darker shadow shifting against the grove of trees outside the cabin. Jacob's breath hitched. Claire clasped his arm, fear etched on her face, and Samuel's small hand trembled against him, full of confusion and dread. They were not alone anymore, and the night was just beginning to unravel its true horrors. What awaited them outside? What other secrets lay hidden in the dark? Even the trees seemed to whisper of dangers yet unseen. Jacob's heart pounded like a war drum, each beat urging him to act. The echoes of laughter still reverberated in the cabin, mingling with the raspy whispers of the encroaching shadows. In that moment, the cabin felt like a trap, the walls closing in. "Do you hear that?" Claire whispered, her voice barely above a breath. Jacob strained to listen. The scuffling outside had intensified, a shuffle that morphed into frantic footsteps. A chill crept up his spine. What lurked beyond the threshold? The very darkness that had swallowed the figure. "We have to look," he said, determination hardening his voice. Claire shook her head, wide eyes pleading. "What if it's him again? What if it's something worse?" "There's no worse than the horror we just faced," he replied, his own words a flimsy comfort. "We can't let fear dictate our choices. We have to know." He pushed open the door, the aged wood creaking as though warning him. The moonlight spilled out like ink, pooling at their feet. The night air was electric, saturated with tension. Outside, shadows twitched and twisted, glimmering under the ghostly light. "No. Stay back." Jacob snapped as he stepped out, Claire's hand slipping from his arm. "Dad!" Samuel's voice peeped out, tethered with apprehension. Jacob turned, his heart clenching at the sight of the boy, terror plastered across his small face. "Just stay behind me," Jacob insisted, scanning the perimeter. The trees loomed like sentinels, and the wind whispered ominously through their branches as if carrying messages from the dead. Just then, he saw it movement outside the edge of the cabin. A shape hunched low, creeping on the ground, rustling through the fallen leaves. Jacob's instincts kicked in again. He edged forward, every fiber of his being ready for confrontation. "Who's there?" he called, his voice firmer than he felt. At that moment, a figure broke from the shadows, stumbling into view. Jacob's breath caught in his throat as recognition flooded through him. Tom, a close friend of Laura's, his face splotched and smeared with dirt, eyes wild. The man had distraught panic written all over him. "Jacob!" Tom gasped, falling to his knees. "You have to listen. There's no time. What are you doing here?" Jacob's voice rose, a mix of anger and confusion. "What happened?" "The truth." Tom's voice trembled, a mere shadow of the confident man Jacob once knew. "Laura dug too deep. It's dangerous. They're coming for you." "Who's coming for us?" Claire stepped forward, eyes darting between Tom and Jacob as if she hoped to make sense of the chaos. Then, without warning, a growl echoed not far from where Tom had appeared, a low, guttural sound layered with menace. Fear bloomed in Jacob's chest as he turned toward the trees. A figure emerged, not quite human, with eyes that gleamed in the night, reflecting what little light there was. The creature stalked forward, every step deliberate, as if it relished the sight of their fear. "Run!" Jacob yelled, yanking Samuel and Claire back toward the cabin. The shuffling footsteps followed, close behind, a relentless reminder that they weren't alone, that this nightmare was far from over. As they stumbled inside, the shadows danced upon the walls, mocking their retreat. Jacob slammed the door shut, the sound echoing ominously in the silence that followed. "What the hell was that?" Claire cried, clutching Samuel close. "I don't know, but whatever it is, we have to find a way to beat it," Jacob breathed, heart racing. He glanced at Tom, whose eyes were wide with terror. "Do you have any idea what we're dealing with?" Tom managed, kneeling at their feet, breathless. Only that it's tied to Laura's discovery, Jacob said, grim determination setting into his bones. We may not have a choice but to confront it. We need the truth now more than ever. Suddenly, a loud thud echoed against the door. It rattled, sending aesthetic ripples up their spines. Each beat pulsed like a drum, a reminder that whatever hunted them would stop at nothing. The truth was out there, buried in darkness, and Jacob knew they'd have to dig it up before it consumed them whole. In that crucial moment, a nagging thought lingered. Was uncovering the truth worth risking everything? Or was ignorance the safer option? With the impending dread crashing down, Jacob already knew, there wasn't a choice anymore. Outside, the growls intensified, harmonizing with the dread coiling in Jacob's gut. What lay ahead could tear their world apart, and the night had only just begun. What secrets would be clawed from the depths of darkness? Would they gain knowledge or lose themselves entirely? Jacob braced for what was to come, sensing that the truth was a beast all its own. Jacob stared at the door, heart thumping painfully against his ribs. The thud resonated like a war drum reverberating through the cabin's air. They needed a plan fast. Tom, Jacob said, urgency firing his voice. What did Laura discover? Tom swallowed hard, speechless for a moment. He was clearly grappling with the weight of what he had to share. It's linked to the company she was investigating. There's corruption, money laundering, threats. I don't know all the details, but she stumbled on something big, dangerous. A furious growl shook the cabin, causing the old wooden beams to sway. Jacob's gut instinct screamed at him to flee, yet their last sanctuary was under siege. Tom, who's after us? Claire asked, eyes wide with panic. Samuel clung tightly to Jacob's leg, shivering from a mix of fear and confusion. The same people who wanted to silence Laura, Tom replied, grim determination penetrating his trembling facade. I came to warn her, and now another violent thud reverberated through the door. We can't stay here, Jacob hissed, fear swarming in his chest. The shadows outside stirred restlessly. We need to go. Now. Claire took a deep breath, grounding herself. But where? We can't split up. He glanced down at Samuel, who was staring up, his innocence pierced by a veil of dread. The woods are vast. We could lose them among the trees. We're moving. Jacob declared, the command snapping through the tension like lightning. He lifted Samuel onto his hip, holding him protectively. They needed to stick together. Out the back, Claire suggested, leading their trio towards the rear of the cabin. Jacob winced, the door rattling again like a frenzied beast trying to break free. Ready? He asked, steeling himself. They nodded, and together, they burst through the back door, splinters flying. The night air hit Jacob like a tidal wave, slicing through the tendrils of panic that had wrapped around him. Faster. He urged, and they sprinted toward the tree lean, darkness swallowing them whole. Behind them, the cabin creaked ominously, a ghostly resonance that echoed in Jacob's heart. They were still being pursued, he could feel it in the very marrow of his bones. Darting into the woods, they zigzagged through trees, the underbrush crackling beneath their feet. The rustling sounds of pursuit came closer, punctuating the silence of the night. What if it's already too late? Claire panted, darting nervous glances over her shoulder. It's never too late if we keep moving. Jacob shouted back, though a gnawing doubt crept in. They were easy targets against the ancient, looming trees. Samuel's little arms tightened around him. Jacob could feel his son's small heart racing in sync with his own, their breaths mingling in a rhythm of shared fear. Suddenly, a terrifying roar pierced through the night, shaking the branches around them. Keep your heads down. Jacob yelled, adrenaline surging through him. They plunged deeper into the woods. Twigs snapped, and something massive crashed behind them, fury echoing in the forest as it tore through the underbrush. Was it the figure from the cabin? Was this what had haunted them? Over there. Claire pointed toward a cluster of rocks. We can hide among those. They dove for cover just as the monstrous form crashed past them, blind and furious, its growl rumbling like thunder. Jacob's pulse raced in his ears as he held Samuel close, desperate to shield him from more than just physical harm. Breathing hard, he searched the dimness for signs of what lay ahead. We need some information, anything. We can't let more secrets slide. Tom nodded. Laura's last notes, I saw them before everything happened. They might still be at the office. Which they are going to be hunting for, Claire added sharply. Then we'll get them, Jacob affirmed, his voice gritty with determination. They could expose everything. As they caught their breath in the shadow of the rocks, the growls faded, replaced by the ominous silence of the woods. But despair lingered in the back of Jacob's mind as they plotted their next move, the lingering question clawed its way back to the forefront. What had Laura uncovered? Then, lurking just beyond the faint glow of moonlight filtering through the trees, the silhouette of two figures emerged. A flicker of recognition made Jacob's heart drop again. Claire. One voice called out, harsh with urgency. It was Mark. Did you find them? Mark. Claire whispered harshly but fiercely, urgency flickering between them. Stay down. Mark's eyes darted between the shadows and them. I came to warn you. They're not just after Laura's notes, they want you all, he said, reinforcing the growing dread. They all turned, fear clutching at their hearts as the dark figures approached, shadows shifting, threatening to engulf them. Why would they want us? Jacob yelled, patience slipping. What is this? There's more at stake than you know, Mark replied, stepping closer, desperation glinting in his eyes. If they discover that you're alive, the truth will be killed with you. Jacob's mind raced, a whirlwind of confusion. What truth? But before Mark could reply, the growl returned, closer now, and then filled the clearing with a menacing laugh that echoed against the trees. Let us see if you remember your choice, came the voice from earlier, shrill, evoking fear as it closed in on them. Jacob's heart settled into a dull ache. Run! He shouted, grabbing Samuel again, the urgency plain. They couldn't give in. They couldn't succumb to the beast lurking in the shadows or the haunting reminder of the truth that hung in the balance. They needed to face whatever lay ahead, together. The chase was on, and this time, there was nowhere left to hide. Head towards the old mill. Tom called as they plunged further into darkness, their laughter drowned by renewed determination. In their desperate sprint, they could feel the shadows gathering, but they would uncover the truth, no matter how jagged or bloodied the path might be. They raced deeper, ready to confront whatever awaited them in the depths of the night, and the truth that awaited them, prepared to shatter everything they once held dear. And as the echoes of pursuit faded, one thing remained unspoken, lurking beneath their resolve: would they uncover the truth or would it erase them completely? Now that the journey was reaching its thrilling climax, it wasn't just a story, it was a call to action. If you've enjoyed this story and want to know what happens next, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss our next exclusive tales. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now. It feeds the algorithm and helps us reach even more fans like you. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. What do you think will happen next? Don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this exhilarating ending. The secrets we uncover together define the heart of our community. Be part of the thrill. This can't wait.